I'm going to say it anyway.
Hello.
Sorry we're late. Technical difficulties. Welcome to Thought Shifting Thursdays. So, my beloved here had an idea for the topic today, which I wrote it down, so I'll say it. So, it's caring for the elderly and end of life planning. So, what are your thoughts about this since it was your idea?
Well, no, the topic came to my head because my parents are getting older. Uh, my
Hi,
mom,
Naomi.
my mom is 82. My dad is 87, and there's things that are coming up for them. Now, one of my sister, Patricia, lives with them, which is a blessing. But the questions are, what else can we be doing? How intrusive should we be in making suggestions and pushing a little bit on those suggestions? Like, I've been experiencing acupuncture lately, and how wonderful I feel after I have my session with Dr. Lee here in Thousand Oaks. And it helped me with my knees, it helped me with my back, it helps me with my hands. It just, the overall health for me has changed. And so I was talking to him about it, and I'm like, have you considered acupuncture? And he said, oh, yeah, we used to go to it years ago. They used to go to a student, it was a college where students are learning about acupuncture, and they didn't have to pay anything. And now it's a little bit far away from their house, and so they stopped going. But I'm like, they live in a place where there's a lot of that everywhere, and so I'm encouraging them strongly to go. I mean, they don't have to do anything much.
Right.
They just got to get there. They lay down. You relax for a half an hour or whatever the treatment is, and then you feel better.
Yeah, and you're fortunate that you have a sister that's living with them.
Yes.
And most people have to make that decision at some point. And by the way, as it says in the description, every one of us is going to, if we live to a ripe old age, we're going to have to deal with this ourselves. Who's going to take care of us or help us
Yes.
or give us
Yes.
assistance? And then what if your parent or parents have dementia, Alzheimer's, as my mother did?
Yes.
I'll share what happened with her. And it was really difficult because, what is so common is number one, don't want to give up your car because that's a symbol of
Right.
independence.
Right.
And, my mom even admitted later after she had resisted giving up her license for many years, she admitted later, I had some really scary close calls that I shouldn't have been driving, right? um,
Yes.
And then, when it was, she could no longer live in her life alone in her home, her house, where she had been for 50 years, alone because it wasn't safe for her. Then there was the question of whether, do we bring in a caretaker? Do we have her come live with us? Do we bring her to assisted living? And we'll talk about some cultural differences in a minute with that. But, she was very strong. And the thing that was really helpful to me, that may be helpful to other people out there that are dealing with parents with dementia, or just even parents that don't want to change their situation, even though it's no longer safe, is I had a long talk with her doctor who said, near end of life, sometimes our parents become our children. We have to kind of take on the parent role and say, this is what we must do now, and just be consistent with that, even if they go kicking and screaming.
Yes.
And the beauty of that, by the way, is that when we become caretakers for our parents, we get to give back. It
A
wasn't
little bit of what they gave
exactly a
us.
little bit, right? I mean, I was dealing with a client last night who just it's really hard for them as a young family to deal with two jobs and raising kids and
And then
having
not
life
living.
balance and all that, and it's a lot. And so, and it's a lot to take care of, parents as well, a shorter time period usually, but it's a lot. So ultimately, my mother's a very independent person. We did convince her that she could no longer live in her home. And what happens, by the way, as her doctor explained to me, is if she didn't go and had an accident, then social service comes in and they
Take
remove
care.
you from your home and take you. You don't have a choice of where you go then. Obviously, you can make the choice later, but that's not a situation anyone wants to deal with. So we convinced her that she couldn't live in her home. We gave her the choice of living with us, going to assisted living. We tried an assisted living place. Um, and so when it came down to one of those two choices, she chose the assisted living. She had her Alzheimer's became more and more advanced. At one point, they wanted to put her in the memory ward, and she tried that, and it was nobody would want to live in that place. So then the lesser of two evils was to come live with us, which was a great gift because we got to spend the last 6 months of her life with her,
Yes.
living in our home here. So those are some of the tips. And then, this is a discussion that a lot of people don't want to talk about because it's not a fun subject. But, the experts recommend that you have a plan, right? And that you have a plan not only for where you live, but how you want to die. You were reading an article a while back about so many people that end up dying in the hospital and don't want to die in the hospital.
Yes.
And
What
you
a
really have
cold
to have
place to
have to have
go.
not that sometimes even with the best of plans, that may end up being the case, but with plans, you might be more likely to
Be able
to
to.
die in a way that you want to. And I'll share a story with you in a bit about that. But maybe you can talk about the cultural difference, because in our culture, the most common thing is assisted living, which is getting more and more expensive because of supply and demand. It's at least 3 times as expensive now as it was when my mom was there, 12 years ago. So, but in your culture, it's different.
I mean, since I was 40, I felt like as soon as I had a home, I thought, okay, where could my mom and my dad come and live with us? What room will they be comfortable in? And I always thought that's where they were going to come. They were going to come and live with me, and that I was going to take care of them. And things might turn out that way. I don't know. Right
There's other
now,
brothers and sisters that might be.
I mean, my brother definitely
Right.
wants to take care of her. It's like we're all fighting for who's going to take care of them because we love her so much. We love them so much. And, but again, the independence thing, they're still getting around. They're still coherent. They're still making decisions that we feel that they're okay. But soon enough, my mom just had both of her knees replaced. My dad has a heart problem. He's had several aneurysms,
Aneurysm.
aneurysms, and he can't hear very well. I mean, obviously, our bodies deteriorate. No matter how well you take care of yourself, you are going to get there at some point or another.
We're starting to find that ourselves.
Right, who's going to take care of us? But
That's the
yes,
question to our viewers is what's your plan? What's our plan?
In Latin America, there's no question. Most of the time, parents already are living with you. I know that in India and other places in the world, the parents come with the kids. It's just part of the culture. In our mind, it's never an option to put our parents somewhere else when we can have them in our house and take care of them. Never a question in our head. So, but American people are different.
Well, now,
I'm not American. I am Central American, but my parents will be coming here if they need to.
well, and nowadays, because of the climbing prices, more
Oh
and more
my
people, I'm
goodness.
assuming, must be having their parents come to live with them or go to live in their parents' home because
Yes.
yeah, I have a friend that's doing that right now.
Right, right.
The story I wanted to tell, it's very interesting, and not that this is for everyone, and it's not even legal in most places, but a client of mine in Canada, um, she had a very good friend who was 93, was nearing the end of her life. They wanted to put her on oxygen. She said, I never want to do that. I am choosing assisted suicide, or whatever they call it up there. And it's legal all through Canada. And so she gathered all of her friends around her. The doctor, was ready to inject her, and they have to say, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And she said, "Yes, I'm ready to go." My client, I might get teary with this,
Wow.
was holding her hand as they injected her and as she slipped away with all of her friends and family present.
How wonderful.
She did it her way, as opposed to leaving in the hands of
Yes.
somebody else to make the decision. So I just love that story. And
Well,
it reminds me of,
and the story of your mother and how she went
yeah,
too.
yeah,
I mean, it was Christmas.
Christmas Eve.
Everybody was here. My family came,
Yep.
and we had Christmas, and everybody just kept coming into the room and saying, and being with her for a little tiny
Right.
bit,
Oh,
and
now
then
I'm really gonna cry.
everybody left. It was just the two of us. We were both holding her hand, and she slipped away. I mean, how wonderful is that?
Right.
I mean, that's just a dreamy thing to do, but I know most of us are not going to go that way.
Well, and my idea is, if you're to go first, which is doubtful, I'm 7 years older, but if it were to happen, and we can arrange it, I would love for us to do assisted suicide together, and we'd be kissing. Our last breath would be a kiss. Um,
What's
if
the
I
question here?
if I go first, yeah, I'll read that in a minute. If I go first, don't expect you to do that because you could have some more quality years to live. Um, Naomi says, Karina, wow, that's so beautiful. I wish I had a home to have my mom with me, but I spent as much time and made sure I talked to the nursing home workers about her needs and care. A plan is good in that we attract what we put out, right? Yeah, beautiful.
Yes, yes.
Thanks for sharing. So yeah, we all do the best we can.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah,
And yes, planning for it.
right.
Because if it's not written somewhere,
Hmm.
it doesn't happen. Just the same with your stuff. You got to figure out
Yeah.
what to do with all your crap.
We still haven't. I mean, we have a trust with all of our, assets and everything, but we haven't made up that list of where, who gets
Yes,
what, right?
yes, 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 yes.
And what goes to trash. It's up to them to decide. We could just leave it all up to them.
But my mom is doing that already. She's getting rid of stuff. She's
Mhm.
already gave us the money that she wanted to give it to us, and what I don't know. She says she's making a list of all the stuff and who is it going to, because there's 6 kids and she's got 17 grandchildren and great grandchildren, and I'm sure she's going to want to leave something to everyone.
And without that list, you can bet there would be some major fighting. Between the siblings.
I
mean,
want that. I want this.
I mean, they fought over the birthday party that we just threw for her. So anyway, yeah. So just the more we can plan, the better. If you don't have a trust, really, real important, especially if you have a lot of assets in a what do they call the things for the medical
Oh yes.
power of attorney and medical directive.
American.
Really important stuff.
Mhm.
So I think that's it for today. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes,
All right. You like it to be short,
yes.
but then you talk for more than half the time and then say that we went too long. All right. We love you guys.
All right.
Hope you enjoyed the topic. If you got some value out of it, give us a like, give us a share, or share with anyone that you think could benefit, especially if you have people in this situation right now.
Yes.
All right. Love you guys and see you next week.
All right. Take care.